I'm Michael Brooks, and I'd like to share with you what I believe are 5 features of good funerals. Now, you might be wondering right off the top, what can be good about a funeral? I mean, aren't funerals always unhappy events because they happen when someone dies? Of course, it's true that funerals follow death, but that doesn't mean that they need to be something we can or even should avoid. In fact, there are many things that can turn end-of-life observances into something good. So in sharing these 5 features of good funerals, I hope to encourage you to think about your own end-of-life observance or that of someone you love. It's never too early. Feature number 1, good funerals celebrate life. Why do people increasingly have celebrations of life if a funeral itself celebrates life? It's a good question, and I think the answer has a lot to do with our experiences of funerals. Very often when I work with families, they will say, I don't want it to be too boring. I want it to be uplifting. What they're teaching me is that their past experiences with funerals have been negative. Maybe there's been a focus only on death, on mourning with people wearing dark clothing and slow music. But the emphasis of a good funeral is on celebrating the gift of life that we have come to know in the person who has died, and how that reminds us of the greater gift of life that is ours each and every day. If we come from a religious tradition, we might say this gift of life is given to us by something or someone beyond ourselves. So someone's death is an invitation to appreciate this gift of life we have and to live our own lives in celebration and in joy. In order to do this, we first recognize and name that the person has died, and this brings about loss, deep loss. So we are honest about death. But it doesn't end there. Out of the loss comes celebration for the life and all that it has meant and will continue to mean. So the two are not mutually exclusive. Good funerals not only mark death, they celebrate life. Feature number 2, good funerals are for the living and the dead. When I'm helping families plan end-of-life observances, I often hear people say, funerals are for the living. And I respond, yes, and funerals are for the dead. And the two purposes do not need to be in conflict with each other. Recently, someone said to me, Mom didn't want anything, but we feel it is important for her and for us. On the other hand, others will say, do whatever you like, I'll be gone, or I don't want anything, don't go to any trouble, everyone is busy. I have been in a number of situations where someone who was very well known and well loved in a community has died, and their obituary states something like, at George's request, there will be no funeral. What often happens in these cases is that people feel left out, deprived of the opportunity to grieve, to show their support for the family, and to celebrate the life. Obviously, it is those who are living who gather for the funeral event, but the death of a person is the reason why there's an event in the first place. So that person is present too, their life, their story, and all they have left behind that will live on in memory. And their body or their remains are often physically present as well. So when we plan funerals, we honor the needs and the wishes of both the living and the dead. In a good funeral, the focus is on the person who has died and what was important to them, and for the living who gather. How is this achieved? Well, that leads to the 3rd feature. Good funerals are built on some pre-planning. The trick here is to do just enough planning to be helpful, but not so much that you don't leave room for final touches or make wishes impossible to carry out. So what should be planned in advance? I call it the 1, 2, 3 of funeral planning. Take one sheet of paper, and on it goes several topics, each topic having 2 or 3 points. These topics are things such as who could lead the service? Put down 2 or 3 names in case someone isn't available. Who might you want to speak some words of memory and story about you? Again, write down 2 or 3 possible names. Are there any readings that have been meaningful for you? Readings from a faith story like the Bible or poems? 2 or 3 is a good number. What about music? Any favorite pieces you have cherished that would help those gathered remember you and that would bless them? 2 or 3 titles go on the one page. And is there anything else that is really important to you that you'd like to have included? General thoughts, ideas, instructions about things like possible venues and burial? No more than one sheet, with each topic having 2 or 3 points. If you're comfortable, talk with those closest to you about your wishes, or talk with your faith leader or others you'd like involved when the time comes. And I recommend that you tell 2 or 3 other people where the one sheet is so it can be quickly accessed when the time comes. If it's on your computer, make sure you also print out a copy. I have a file of a number of requests for people's funerals so that when the time comes, we simply look at the sheet and proceed. The 1, 2, 3 of funeral planning, one sheet of paper with each topic having 2 or 3 points, because good funerals often happen as a result of some pre-planning, leaving final choices and details until the time comes. Feature number 4, good funerals tell stories. Much of our lives is shaped by stories. Each day we live and each experience we have contributes to what our life story is, who we are, what we value, what we do, what we believe. A good funeral tells stories of the person who has died, stories that point to their core identity and qualities. Now, the bulk of the storytelling might be the memories that are shared in the form of a eulogy or some other tribute, and you can learn more about shaping those tributes in my video, 10 Tips for Better Eulogies. But the entire funeral itself tells a story that helps point to what the death means for us. Is the service casual or a bit more formal? Does it take place in a church or some other venue that has significance for the deceased? I have presided at funerals in hockey arenas, on golf courses, on farms, and on boats in the middle of lakes. The music shared, the art and the flowers displayed, and the food afterward all contribute to the story of the life lived and the death commemorated. So think of the whole funeral as a chance to tell the story of the person who has died. Good funerals tell stories. And finally, feature number 5, good funerals leave us in gratitude. If there's one feeling that I'd like people to leave a funeral with, it would be a sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the gift of the person in our lives who has died, gratitude for all that will live on in memory and story long after the brief day of the funeral, and perhaps a renewed sense of gratitude for the gift of life itself. If people can walk out of the end-of-life observance, whatever it looks like, and say to themselves, "Thanks, Kathy, for the gift of your life. This has helped to reaffirm my own life and its purpose," I think we can count that as a success. Many centuries ago, a wise mystic from Germany named Meister Eckhart said famously, "If the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it will be enough." Gratitude is our response to all we come to know and share with others on the journey of life. Good funerals leave us in gratitude. So to summarize, the 5 features are: good funerals celebrate life, good funerals are for the living and the dead, good funerals are built on some pre-planning, good funerals tell stories, and good funerals leave us in gratitude. I hope these features have renewed within you a sense of the importance of ending well. Whatever we do in life, we should always strive to end well. This is true for life itself. May we celebrate and mark this most precious gift of all.